All right, so Bitcoin blew past $65,000, and it seems like everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, it's definitely been getting a lot of attention lately.
But is this like a real bull market this time, or is it just another one of those, crypto winters coming up right around the corner?
Right.
Because I have to say, all this talk about resistance levels and macro factors, honestly, it makes my head spin a little bit.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack, but that's what we're here for, right? To kind of break it all down.
Exactly.
So you mentioned resistance levels.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, imagine like a wall that Bitcoin keeps hitting,
Okay.
but it just can't seem to break through.
Yeah.
Essentially, what resistance is in the trading world, it's kind of like a psychological barrier
Uh-huh.
where selling pressure has been really strong in the past. And so when Bitcoin like smashes through that $65,000 mark, like it just did,
Yeah.
it signals a pretty significant shift in momentum.
So it's like a psychological boost almost.
Exactly.
Everybody sees it kind of power through, and then they all want to jump on board.
Yeah, they want to ride the wave.
Ride the wave to the moon, hopefully.
Exactly. And this time it's even more interesting because it's happening against a backdrop of some pretty significant economic uncertainty.
That's true, yeah.
You've got the Fed's actions, the potential U.S. government shutdown. These things create a lot of volatility in traditional markets,
Mhm.
and that can actually make Bitcoin more appealing to some investors.
So you're saying when things look shaky kind of in the regular market,
Yeah.
Bitcoin starts to look a little bit more appealing.
It can, yeah. It's like this kind of safe haven appeal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Especially with all this talk about, Bitcoin being like the new gold. I know we had that Forbes article talking about boomer gold.
Right.
Is that a fair comparison, or is that just hype?
I mean, it's definitely an attention-grabbing headline,
Yeah.
but there are some interesting parallels.
Here.
Just like gold, Bitcoin has a limited supply. It operates independently of central banks.
Right.
And if you think back to previous times of economic uncertainty, gold has often been seen as that safe haven asset.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's possible that some investors, especially those who have kind of lived through market cycles and seen inflation erode their wealth, are now looking at Bitcoin in a similar light.
Makes sense. But it's not just Bitcoin making waves right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Ethereum is on a tear, up over 13%. And then there's all this talk about these crypto whales joining a particular pre-sale.
Right.
What is that all about?
So crypto whales, they're basically just individuals or groups that hold a significant amount of cryptocurrency,
Okay.
enough to potentially influence the market.
Gotcha.
A pre-sale is kind of like an exclusive early bird opportunity to buy into a project before it's available to the public.
Okay.
So when whales participate in these pre-sales, it can be seen as a really strong vote of confidence, a signal to other investors that something big might be brewing.
So it's almost like insider trading, but in the wild west of crypto.
Yeah, you could say that.
So we've got Bitcoin smashing through these resistance levels, maybe because of these macro factors, maybe because it's a safe haven asset.
Yeah.
And then Ethereum with all these big time investors. It seems like everyone's jumping on this crypto train,
Sure.
but not so fast, right? I was reading an article on Daily Hodl, and an analyst is predicting a massive sell-off for one of Ethereum's rivals.
Interesting.
How do we make sense of all these conflicting opinions?
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's
Yeah.
important to remember that every analyst has their own perspective, their own set of indicators they're looking at. It's like everybody's looking at their own little piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
trying to figure out the bigger picture.
So how do we avoid getting caught up in all of that?
Yep.
I mean, are there any signs that this time might be different, that this isn't just another, like, flash in the pan?
Right. Everyone wants to know if this is the one.
Yeah.
There are a few things to keep in mind here.
Okay.
Remember that PayPal news?
Oh, yeah, with the...
That users in the U.S. can now buy and sell Bitcoin and Ethereum directly through their PayPal accounts.
Yeah, that was huge. It's like they're rolling out the red carpet.
Exactly. So no more like grappling with complicated exchanges or worrying about storing your digital keys.
Right.
This could bring a whole new wave of people into the crypto space.
People who might have been a little bit hesitant before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it always seemed too complicated,
Yeah.
too difficult.
It makes you wonder if this is kind of like a tipping point.
Right.
Like, is crypto finally becoming normal?
It's certainly a step in that direction. And speaking of signs of mainstream acceptance, CNBC reported on how some investors are actually being drawn to Bitcoin because of positive U.S. economic data.
Really? Even with a potential government shutdown? I don't quite follow that. I would think that would make people run to, like, more traditional investments.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But some analysts suggest that this positive economic data, particularly strong consumer spending, might actually be fueling fears of future inflation.
Okay, so they're basically saying, okay, the economy is doing well, but is that going to lead to inflation down the line?
Right. Exactly.
And they see Bitcoin as a hedge against that.
Potentially. Like a way to kind of protect their assets.
Huh. That's a pretty big shift. I mean, I remember when it's just like internet money, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely gone through a lot of phases.
And now we're talking about it being like a hedge against inflation. Wild. Which kind of brings us to, I think, the prediction that everybody's talking about, that Forbes article, suggesting that Bitcoin could hit $100,000.
Right.
And quickly.
Rapid pace, I think was the exact quote.
Yeah. Okay, time for a reality check here. Given everything we've talked about, do you think that's even remotely possible? Or are we getting caught up in the hype again?
Well, predicting the future of crypto is, well, it's a tough game.
Yeah.
However, the confluence of events right now is definitely looking bullish.
Okay.
If this momentum continues, and that's a big if, then $100,000, it might not be as outlandish as it sounds.
Okay. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Especially with October right around the corner.
Right.
Remember that TradingView article?
How about all the green candles?
Yes, the green candles.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
So basically, a green candle on a price chart just means that the price of an asset went up during a specific time frame.
Okay.
So a month of green candles means a sustained period of price increases.
Got it.
Which usually gets traders very excited.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even with all of these, what seem to be positive signs, I can't ignore the fact that, we've been down this road before.
We have.
And it doesn't always end well.
Yeah, there have definitely been some bumps along the way.
So what makes this time different?
Well, you have to look beyond the headlines, beyond the hype, and really assess the underlying fundamentals.
Okay, so what are we looking at there? So are we talking like mass adoption? Are institutional players actually, getting more comfortable with crypto, or are they just kind of dipping their toes in the water?
That's the big question, isn't it? And speaking of institutional players, did you see that piece on Cointelegraph about BlackRock?
BlackRock. Aren't they like those financial giants?
Yeah, the ones with more money than some small countries.
Yeah. What are they doing in the crypto world?
Well, they haven't gone all in on Bitcoin just yet, but they did recently launch a new data index that tracks the performance of 14 crypto-related companies.
Interesting. So they're kind of testing the waters, but not ready to jump in completely.
Exactly. It suggests at least a cautious interest from major institutional players, and that can be a significant market mover down the line.
Yeah, for sure. But with all this talk about, these big players, it makes you wonder, like, what about the average person just trying to, make sense of all of this?
Right.
It can be really hard to follow.
It can definitely feel overwhelming.
It feels like 1 minute something is like the next big thing, and then the next minute it's gone.
Right.
And you're like, what happened?
And it's important to remember that not all crypto investments are created equal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
In fact, FX Empire pointed out that amidst all this talk about Bitcoin breaking resistance levels and Ethereum attracting whales, it was actually a meme coin inspired by Elon Musk's dog, Floki, that saw the biggest gains this week.
Wait, are you serious? So even with all of this talk about, bull markets and institutional investors, a meme coin is what stole the show.
It just goes to show that the crypto market is still driven by speculation, hype, and, fear of missing out.
Yeah, that good old FOMO.
Exactly.
So even with all the analysis, all the predictions you're saying, there's still a certain level of just unpredictability.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so crucial to approach this space with both excitement, but also a healthy dose of caution.
So as we kind of wrap up here, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about?
I think it really comes down to knowledge is power. The more you understand about the technology, the market dynamics, the psychology, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions.
I think that's great advice. So to our listeners out there, whether you're a seasoned crypto trader or you're just starting out, remember to stay curious, do your research, and maybe take those price predictions with a grain of salt.
Yeah, especially the ones promising a Lamborghini by next week.
Exactly.
The crypto world is full of surprises, and that's part of what makes it so captivating.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everybody. And remember, in the world of crypto, the only constant is change.
And maybe a healthy dose of meme coin madness.
Thank you once again for being part of our ever-growing on-chain news network community. Until next time, keep exploring the future of finance and stay curious. We'll see you in our next video.